on our agenda, we did have the Rural Health Transformation Program. She unfortunately had to cancel. So I just have a couple of things that I want to talk about, and then we can kind of start talking about the Rural Health Transformation Program. But it's not going to be the kind of presentation that she was able to give. So let's start with our agenda. Any changes to the January meeting minutes that anybody wants me to make? Hearing none, are we good with that? Then I don't even know that we need to do like a formal vote. Are we good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So then our next topic is going to be on housing. One of the things when they're talking about the Rural Health Transformation Program, I know that they're working on getting like a director. I don't know if that's the right term, but like somebody to run that program in order to facilitate over, I think it's the next 5 years. So they're going to have somebody that's like in charge of that. At the next Olmstead meeting right now, I have Pat Trainer slotted to give that presentation, and they thought that it might be whoever this new Rural Health Transformation Director is. So it'll either be Pat or that new person. I don't know if they've hired somebody yet, but they'll be giving that at the next Olmstead Commission meeting. So if you guys are able to do that, able to come to that, that would be really helpful. If not, I do record those meetings and I put them on the website, so you could always kind of keep up with that. If you want to go to, if you just type in like Rural Health Transformation North Dakota, I'm going to do that quick too. You can sign up for, let's see here. Put the link in the chat. You can sign up for their updates, and they have a lot of really good information in there. But once you get into that, it kind of talks a little bit about like how much money we were awarded, what it is, 5 year. And then it talks about how to apply for like funding opportunities. And one of the big things that we were looking at as far as the Olmstead Commission is concerned, and they're going to get a presentation on this too, but they would like to know what you guys as an advisory council, after we get that presentation, or once you know a little bit more about the program, what you guys think that we could potentially do to help people with disabilities in the state using some of that rural health transformation money. So kind of take a look at that website. Like I said, I wish we had a presentation today on it. I don't think I can do it justice to talk about it, but if you want to take a look at that, give me one sec here. If you want to take a look at that, and then if you start coming up with any ideas, shoot them my way, and I can always just kind of keep track of that. And then, like I said, at the next Olmstead Commission meeting, there will be a presentation. So if you can tune into that, that would be really good. But they are probably gonna want to know, like, what is the lived experience viewpoint on what could this money be used for. So kind of keep that in the back of your minds as we're looking at that rural health transformation. But yeah, sign up. I think at the bottom of that page, you can subscribe to news and alerts. I get those, and they don't send a ton of stuff, but they do send out some stuff to kind of let you know a little bit about what they're doing with that rural health transformation program. I just think it's a really good opportunity for the disability world, if we want to try and get something put in place over the next 5 years that could impact people with disabilities moving forward. I think it's a pretty good opportunity. Okay, so the other thing that we had on our list was February follow-up. At the last Olmstead Commission meeting, basically they took all of your recommendations that we talked about at the last meeting and ran with them. And so I sent you copies of all of these. Did you guys get those? All of the letters that I sent out? Okay. So one of which, and I know we didn't even really talk about like making a recommendation on the waiver, but there was an opportunity to make a recommendation on the Medicaid traditional individuals with intellectual disabilities and developmental disabilities home and community-based services waiver. So on behalf of the Olmstead Commission, they made a recommendation that says there shouldn't be that 3 bid minimum for getting the home modifications done. And we had talked about that, and I can't remember if it was Trevor or Brenda that brought it up at the meeting, and they kind of went back and forth a little bit, and they were like, well, why don't we just make some comments on this? So they sent those comments to Medicaid. I did get, I can pull it up here. I got some feedback back from Medicaid. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so they sent back kind of a clarification on the waivers, and they just said, here's what we do for each of these waivers. The aging waiver requires 2 bids for modifications. The DD waiver is the 3 bids that we were talking about, and then the medically fragile waiver, 2 estimates. So then the other comment that they, go ahead. Did somebody have something to say?
No, I just had to cough, sorry.
Oh, okay. And I can't see the screen when I'm presenting like this, and so I just wanted to make sure. They did note that one of the things with that DD waiver, that if you have an environmental modification and you can't get 3 bids, like you're in a rural area or something like that, that they do have in the waiver, it does say that they can make exceptions for that. The other thing that they said, they agree that consistency across waivers is helpful, and they try to align requirements whenever possible. At the same time, each waiver serves a different population and operates within different provider networks and service delivery structures, which can lead to some differences in specific requirements. So they basically just said, here's what we know about the waivers and about the environmental modifications, and then they just said, thank you for submitting your comments, is kind of about all I got back. So I don't know if they'll send anything more back once they look into each of those comments a little bit more or not, but that's what I know about that. So the other ones, we had customized employment, and I got some feedback on that one too. So on this one, we talked about reassessing and updating the reimbursement structure. The Olmstead Commission basically just took all of your recommendations and put those ones forward. Commission recommends that VR consider designating 1 provider per region. And then introducing students at a younger age to competitive integrated employment just earlier, and making sure that that's done throughout the state. So they took all of, I think those were all of your recommendations, and they just put those ones forward. The response from VR is that they are expanding their offerings in customized employment, including staff education, helping develop providers. They're looking at the rate structure to help improve the number of providers willing to offer the service. I think they are more willing to go with an increased rate per hour as opposed to a milestone, because they haven't seemed to have as much luck with the milestone payments as like Colorado has, but I don't know that they're totally ruling that out. But they are looking at changing that rate structure to make sure that the providers are being compensated, because it's a lot more time, it's a lot more intense intensive work than a lot of the other employment services. This is kind of a cool one. They asked Minot State if they'd be interested in handling the discovery phase for everybody, because this is the part that a lot of providers struggle with, is really getting to know that person and figuring out what kinds of things they really like to do, and finding that like niche of something that they could do for a business, and then carving that out in a business. So that discovery phase, that's the like 40 hours that they pay for them to get to know the individual with a disability. So having Minot State do all of that, they think that they'll see a little bit more fidelity with that. So that would be kind of cool. At that point, then they would hand it over to a provider to continue the service, like actually in the employment in that space. They're open to suggestions. I have this twice here. I just met with the new director for VR, like I want to say it was last week or the week before, and he is very open to suggestions. And when I told him that we have an advisory council, he was super interested in hearing what you guys have to say. He said that the only way that he will know if things are going well or not is if people tell him. So if you have any suggestions, you can send them my way and I can pass them on to him, or if you want his contact information, I can provide that too, but he is super open to suggestions. The other thing they talked about was the competitive integrated employment. They just hired somebody for this that was supposed to start in March. I've not met her yet, but she is leading efforts to provide meaningful services to students, helping students discover new opportunities, and supporting students in exploring a wide range of career possibilities and gaining exposure to as many occupations as possible. She used to be a special education teacher, worked for DPI on transition plans. She also has a background in VR, so education and VR, so he was hopeful that she would be able to bridge the gap between VR and the schools. Like I said, he is super open to suggestions. So if you think of anything that we were missing here or anything like that you would want me to pass along, he really would like the lived experience viewpoint. Anybody have anything that they would want to pass along?
What I've noticed with individuals that I've worked with and also in my own family, it's great that they want to hit them at the high school level. That is fantastic. But it's that transition out of high school into adult life that they seem to struggle the most. And I think it's because our individuals, like you said, they don't necessarily have a niche created for them. They're trying different things, but they kind of get left behind, or they get pigeonholed into, oh, we're going to have you cleaning. It's horrible. That's all they think they can do is clean. They can do so much more. But that transition age from when they're aging out at 21 from the high school, from the fifth year programs, into an adult situation when they're looking at moving out possibly into their own apartment, and really entering an adult lifestyle, that seems to be what I've noticed has lacked the most support.
And are you thinking it's an employment issue, or are you thinking it's more of like being able to live on their own and make sure that they're, do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you think that's
both? But I think just focusing on the employment part of it would be important also, because my son is 21, he's autistic. His friends are all finishing up college right now, and he really feels left behind by them, even because they are moving on to adult type jobs and adult lifestyles, and he is not there yet, but he would like to get some experience. And because I homeschooled him, he didn't do the transition program. There isn't a lot of resources, especially in the western part of the state. The interactions we've had with HIT, job coaches, they put them at a spot and then kind of leave them on their own. And a lot of these individuals that we work with, they don't necessarily know how to initiate a conversation with an employer if there's a problem, or how to appropriately interact with other employees that are the same age. They try to fit in and then they just don't. And it seems like they kind of get left on their own to figure those things out. You know, at the high school level, at least with our high school, when they put them into a job placement, they have staff with them the full time to ease through all of those things. And they kind of tend to ease all of those transitions for them rather than necessarily teaching them how to do it. They smooth it out for them, and that doesn't work once they no longer are there. So I would like to see, at least from my experience, I would like to see something for that age 21 to maybe even like to 30. I feel like that would be a really good target age group to try and initiate some of the stuff in there so that they get the support they need. Because then once they learn how to do things, they can be left more independently to work. And that would be the hope that they all would be able to do it, you know. But I think that that's something that definitely should be addressed.
I don't know how far VR, like what age they like this pre-ed specifically program deals with. But yeah, I can definitely bring that up. Maybe, and maybe if they were taught some of those skills when they were in school, like you said, instead of kind of hand holding the whole way through and doing all of those things instead of teaching them how do they have those interactions, maybe that could be something that that new pre-ets administrator could deal with
I know
and
they
try
do have
to.
the SWEPT program over the summer, and that's VR coming in and working on specific things with them. I'm not exactly sure what they're working on, but VR comes in and does different, almost like a little seminar for them.
Okay,
You
what is
know,
that
a
called?
SWEPT,
Okay.
like, yeah. My nephew was involved with that when he was at the high school in Dickinson. And he's 24 now, so I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they did it, but they worked on building a resume, things like that, which are good skills to have, but then it drops off as soon as they are out of that program. Continuation of services maybe would be a better.
So like out of that pre-ets program, how do you move forward? Okay.
Yeah.
Me, this is sure. Maybe having like two programs. Like when I was in California, because I grew up in California, we had like a book training. So in the daytime, we went to school. We learned different area, food service, like that. So they help us to learn, and we have a person to look at jobs, and then we had a night program that I lived with 4 people as a roommate, and we learned how to cook. We learned to make went shopping and learn how to communicate with each other. And so after we did that, then they helped us to find our own apartment if we want to live by ourselves or live with somebody. But we were like helping out to do our resumes, get ready for an interview. So when we got out of our own, we still have a stack come home once a week to just check on us. So, and it worked. I mean, it was like about a 2-year program, but you get out of it.
Did you say it was a 2-year program?
Yeah.
So a little bit more of that continuation that Katie's talking about. Is that,
Uh,
Katie, is that kind of what you're thinking? Like a little bit longer, like instead of just the summer program, have something that lasts a more substantial amount of time? Okay.
Because it did help. I mean, and we did have our ELP, we have our goals, what we want to do, and stuff like that. But it helped me a lot too. I mean, because I went into it, Because 21 or 19, when you leave school, is scary.
Mhm.
Because you don't want to be in high school until 21.
It's
So
scary
this,
when you don't have to stay longer in high. When you don't do the 5th year program, it's scary to age out of high
yeah.
school.
Yeah. Because then
But,
what are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
but it's helped you because you have food service, you have electronics, you have maintenance, you have clear work. And if you would like that, then Merv come in and talk to like Mary, how it's Jean doing. She's doing good. So she could work in a restaurant out in the community. My roommate Bobby, she worked at the she did work at the teacher retirement home at the waitress, you know. So if you had that little bit of help, it could go a long way.
Sounds like it. Yeah, I'll definitely bring that up because I think that could be something that pre-ets could start while
Mhm.
they're in school, and then VR could, if they already have a program that's like a summer program, is there some way to extend those services a little bit longer to like how you, Cheryl, did you say they checked in like once a week or something?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like you, and when you were in the program, you graduate from the day program. Then the night program was apartment cleaning, and making other men going shopping. And you graduate from program, then you could have a roommate or be by yourself, live on your own. I did both.
Do you have to meet certain requirements to graduate from that program? Or is it just a
No,
time?
it's just a time. Long as you work on your skill, like they work on behavior, like it's hard to say on cash. I work, so you got, so they kind of work on that. They kind of work on being there, and doing your job, So I thought it was good. So
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, other recommendations. I know we got to just make our recommendations, but like just the way that he was so willing to hear from you guys, I just figured I would open it up again. Hearing none, let's go to workers with disabilities Medicaid. So they again took all of your recommendations. One caveat. They made one change to your recommendations, and it's not that they don't want to get rid of the $100 enrollment fee for workers with disabilities Medicaid. The only thing they said is that they wanted me to do a little bit more research into what that $100 enrollment fee is used for. They said that they didn't feel comfortable just saying get rid of it if we don't even know what like the purpose of it to begin with, or why they started that $100 enrollment fee. So I have reached out to a few people to figure out where that comes from, and we figured out that it would take legislation to be able to change that, so we're not in any rush. We would just want to think about that before the next legislative session. So hopefully I can get that information. I was kind of hoping I would have it before today, but hopefully before the next Olmstead Commission meeting, and then maybe they will want to move forward with that recommendation as well. They added one. Okay, let's go through the ones that you gave them. Accelerating the timeline for automating the enrollment process because they don't have a timeline right now. Contacting anybody that has a client share to give them information on workers with disabilities Medicaid and ask them to set up an appointment to assess their eligibility. Clarify terminology on their website and develop an online portal for documentation and payments for workers with disabilities Medicaid. We talked a lot about gross income versus countable income versus gross countable income. It's very confusing. So a lot of times people are not able to figure out like if they're even eligible to begin with. And then the one that they added is that they wanted to, and this was something, Trevor came to the last Olmstead Commission meeting, and he talked a little bit about how the appointment system works, and said that it gets kind of confusing because it's like a mailing based notification system instead of like online, and how sometimes you'll get a notification of an appointment in the mail like the day after your appointment was supposed to be, and then you have to go and reschedule. They talked a little bit about Social Security. It says the Envision system would allow callers to schedule a specific 1-hour callback window on a chosen day, using the model used by Social Security Administration. Because people have long hold times and they're missing appointments and stuff like that, if they were able to do some more automation of that, then people wouldn't be missing all of those appointments or having to wait really long time on the phone waiting for somebody. So that was the one thing that they added to the recommendations that you guys had. And I have not gotten anything back from HHS regarding any of these recommendations yet. And if I do, then I'll present that at our next meeting. Do you guys have anything to say about that? Thoughts on their adding that last one? Is that something you guys have heard of, where people are waiting really long times or like struggling with the appointment system? Katie's shaking her head yes. Cheryl, yeah. So I think that's a nice addition to the recommendations that were made, and I guess we'll just wait and see what HHS has to say about it.
Something else that I would add that some places do is when you call in, if it's going to be an extended hold time, they allow you to just leave your name and number, and they call you back in order you called in, but they do a call back rather than waiting on the phone.
Does it not do that for Medicaid?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Well, if they reach back out and want any clarification, I'll add that.
The callback window is nice, like they do with Social Security. I appreciate that with Social Security, but this would be like if you have something specific you need to address with them and you call in, rather than sitting on a phone for 3 hours, you can just, you go into a queue, you put your information into a queue, and then they call you back. Like the cell phone companies do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And that would make, to me, that would make a whole lot more sense. I'd rather listen for a call than listen to elevator music for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm. It just gets so frustrating. And then sometimes it's like, okay, you don't know, did you get hung up on, or right, like, or how long am I going to be waiting? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If they want any further clarification, I can bring it to you guys again, or I can pass that along too. Yeah, anything to make it just a little bit more user friendly.
Right.
Absolutely. All right, let's see here. I think other than that rural health transformation, I think that was all I had for you guys today. So it ends up being a pretty short meeting. Anything else you guys want to discuss today? One of the other things I guess I could talk a little bit about is on customized employment, your recommendations for, and I haven't made a lot of headway with this yet, but I've reached out to Minot State to get some success stories on customized employment, and I have a contact information I just got on one, and then I'm hoping on a couple more from a couple of providers. I just don't have anything like formal to present to you guys, but I am going to be doing some, just like a little bit of advertising on customized employment, what it is, the success stories, just so more people know about it, so hopefully more people will utilize that. The other thing that I'm working on, and Leslie's here, I've kind of talked to her about this a little bit, is the direct service workforce, looking at a pipeline into that workforce. I talked with Leslie a little bit about that. I have a couple of people that work in the Fargo area that have like a provider that is also kind of looking at something like that. Hopefully we can get some idea of if it's a possibility, if there could be some sort of like either a high school class or a college class that they could get some credit for, and they could start being exposed to that work. And you know, sometimes people just fall in love with it, and then that makes the decision for them. So I feel like if we could get something like that into the hands of kids, I feel like a lot of kids don't even know what that is. And so I think that the peer-to-peer stuff is huge, because a lot of those kids that do peer-to-peer would also likely do, like, you know how they do like CNA class, if you could do like a DSP class or something like that, and they could, learn about it, train, and then get some real world experience. I just don't exactly know how that looks yet. One of the things I was kind of hoping to ask about for this rural health transformation program is there a way that we could use some of those funds to move that forward? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know exactly what is covered under that rural health transformation program, but if that's something that we could do to get some of those classes in place or something, I think that could be huge.
This year in Dickinson, or this year or last year, they started a program where they're offering, like, you can take a class and get a welding certificate. You can take a class and get a dental hygienist certificate.
Wow.
So that might, they have a whole, one of the oil field companies pulled out, so they had this whole huge building that they bought, and they're teaching them, they're teaching them a trade skill. And they have many different options that you can do if you don't want to go the classic 4-year education and then off to a 4-year college. This gives them a certificate. They could actually start working immediately after high school for those that are not college bound. So, that might be a model to look at and see how they've run that. Because I don't know if it's CSP or not. It's through Dickinson Public Schools.
Okay. If you looked around, could you find me a contact information for that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, send me that, because I am happy to do the legwork and try and figure out if there's somebody that's doing this somewhere in the state, then we can replicate that. That's perfect.
Yeah, and if nothing else, you can call the central office here would have that information, I'm sure.
Yeah, but if you had somebody, then it just removes one step.
Right. Yeah, let me see if I can find someone.
Absolutely. Anybody else?
Have you been working with the QSP hub too, out of Center for Rural Health?
I've not. But
the QSPs are, I think they've talked about that too, doing a class or QSP,
okay.
QSPs, that'd be a good,
that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll look into that. They're here today at this conference that I'm at, so I might be able to grab
Danielle
somebody.
Should be there today. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I'll look into that. That's a good.
I know there's been conversations of kind of around the same things. I mean, like, you guys can do it together or whatever, I mean.
Yes. Yeah. Why recreate the wheel if you don't have to? You're on the same page as I am. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm even thinking like Leslie Leslie, do you want to introduce yourself? Sorry.
Yes. Leslie Hunkert, and I am with Train ND Southeast under NDSCS in Wahpeton. Stephanie had reached out because I had spoken to another colleague of hers, and she wanted to know if it's something, because we have a CIC, Career and Innovation Center here, that high school kids if they're interested in becoming a CNA, they can take some of their hours and credits through them to get their certification, so they can either start right now while they're working or while they're going to high school, or have that as a career. Stephanie and I talked about, is there a way to get the DSP career out there to these high school kids, so that they have the opportunity? I mean, they may love it, but they didn't know about it, right? And so, yeah, she talked to me, and I said, it's interesting. I read through the rural health, and I said, I don't know that they have funding for this type of a program, but do a little checking. I know there is, I can't think of the college. I want to say like Minot, that offers a DSP virtual course, right, Stephanie?
Minot, yep.
Minot. Okay. And we're talking more hands-on and getting into the schools to talk about this.
That's what ours does too. They come in and they offer them options.
Yeah. And so we have that NDSCS, we do that for different kinds of trades. And so this is not one that's offered, but I don't know if it's Minot that, I don't know the right verbiage, owns the rights to this training so that they can become certified in this. And that's what Stephanie was talking to me about. And our CNA program manager checked in with someone in the state, and said, no, Minot does that. But I don't know if it's fully certified. I didn't look much further into it after you and I had that last conversation.
And what I was kind of thinking is that we could kind of piggyback on what you guys are already doing. If you already have like a CNA class, then all we would have to do is figure out the training piece of it, right? And you guys would be able to facilitate that then, yeah. So, yeah, I have a couple of emails out. I'm still waiting to hear back. It's always a little bit frustrating when you start digging into these things. It's like, well, I kind of want an answer now. I would like to get going on this, but yeah. So I'm trying to be patient on that. But I just figured I'd give you guys a little bit of an update. Nothing formal, but we're working on it. Okay, well, if you guys have nothing else, does anybody have anything else they want? We have 20 minutes left of our meeting. If you guys have anything else you'd like to discuss? Hearing none. All right. If you guys want, do you want me to add you all to the next Olmstead Commission meeting where they're doing that rural health transformation presentation? So that, okay, should I just add everybody from this meeting? Okay, I'll add y'all to that next Olmstead Commission meeting just so you can have it on your calendar. And then we can hear a little bit more about the Rural Health Transformation Program and see what the parameters are. I've heard lots of speakers on this, but I'm still not entirely sure what the parameters are on what it can do. But sign up for that thing so that you can get some of those updates as well, because I feel like there is probably something in this Rural Health Transformation Program that could benefit individuals with disabilities. We just need to be creative and figure out what that might be. All right, well, I will get you all added to that meeting, and then I hope to see you there. Okay, nice to see you all today. Have a nice day.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.